All right, good evening. Welcome to the Black Media Matters Studios. My name is Omari Salisbury. We're here for another episode of the Pop Up. Got a fantastic show on tap for you tonight as we're literally tapping in with people and organizations out there in the community, man, who are on the front line and making a difference in combating gun violence in our communities. We'll be joined by Eddie Purpose from the Progress Pushers. He's the founder and executive director, as well as Marvin Marshall, Freedom Project executive director. One way or another, they've been on Converge in all kinds of different ways over the past few years, but this is the first time we got them sitting down here together in the studio, so we'll talk about that. Before we get into it, though, the whole reason why they're here is this is Together We End Gun Violence Week, and when we'll talk about this is presented by the King County Regional Office of Gun Violence Prevention. That's your first slide there, Eric. And they seek to prevent and eliminate gun violence and ensure equitable health outcomes for all by providing the affirming life-affirming care and resources to individuals and families who are most impacted by unjust systems. So we're very happy. We're actually proud to partner once again this year with that office and to amplify their work, their efforts, and, man, to really just keep it a buck that the only way that this epidemic of gun violence is going to end, we heard last night the disease of gun violence, looking at it in a public health lens, is that, man, that we work together and together that we end gun violence. And so all of this week, we're staying on message 100%. And before we get going, we got to give a big shout out to our sponsor. One of them, we got a few. You know, the pop-up is popping, man. But, yeah, big shout out to We Rise Wines. We Rise Wines, located right on 2nd Avenue, right across the street from the Moore Theater. Jamila Conley and her team, and, man, that's the For Us, By Us wine shop. You know what I'm saying? So I know it might be convenient to run to QFC or something like that and grab the bottle because she's like, hey, you know, pick up some wine. But you know what? It's going to be way more appreciated if you're super intentional and tap in with We Rise. You know what I'm saying? And then you got a whole story behind the bottle. Like, yo, you know, you won't believe it. I went downtown, you know what I'm saying? Picked up this bottle, yada, yada. You feel me? There's also the club, too. If you want to take it to the next level, then you sign up for the wine club. And every few months, Jamila and her team, you know what I'm saying, they send you a box of wines, and then you seem real sophisticated at the crib, right? So thank you so much, Jamila. All right, Mr. Director, we'll take it on the wide here. We'll introduce our esteemed guest this evening, sitting right here to my immediate left. And clearly, you know, I'm the only one who didn't get the memo today because everybody's matching with tops and shoes. But this is Marvin Marshall, Freedom Project Executive Director. Welcome to the Black Media Matters Studios.
Hey, how you doing? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm doing good. It's the pop-up. we are right. And it's a brother with purpose, and you know, it's a little play on the name, and I'm sure you've heard it in all kinds of different ways. I'm talking about Eddie Purpose, the founder and executive director of the Progress Pushers. How are you?
Oh, man, come on, man. We popping it on the pop-up.
Yeah, see, there you go. Now you talking my language over here. You feel me? So the way this show works, right, is that we're going to talk about some headlines of what's going on right now across the city, across the region. We get some feedback, you know what I'm saying, because people like to tune in and get some news and information. And as we ramp this show up, this is going to be a premier news spot. But we getting there. So right now, we doing headlines, and we're going to, keep the conversation moving forward. That's okay with you guys?
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Okay, all right, good stuff. Let's see here. Mr. Director, he's going to put up our first article today. Man, yeah, World Cup, it's only expected that it's going to stay in the headlines here. Let's see. This is Seattle aims to move people from the streets to shelter before the World Cup, right? Check this out. According to Stephanie Stokes in the Seattle Times, a coalition of nonprofits and business leaders is working to move 40 homeless individuals in a specific section of Pioneer Square into shelters ahead of the upcoming World Cup. By pooling resources from organizations like Purpose, Dignity, Action, the Downtown Emergency Service Center, and the Salvation Army, the initiative aims to prove that homelessness can be effectively resolved by directly matching individuals with appropriate shelters and services such as mental health care and addiction treatment without restrictive requirements. The pilot program has quickly seen success, moving nearly half of the targeted individuals indoors within a few weeks. Although this service-intensive model faces questions about long-term funding, it's always the money, and high unit costs, advocates hope that pre-FIFA sprint will convince city leaders to expand coordinator approach rather than relying on standard encampment clearings. So what it sounds like right here is a bunch of organizations that come together with different targeted services to be able to get people off the streets and in the shelter. Any thoughts on that, Eddie Purpose?
Yes. My immediate thoughts, right, is why wait till the World Cup?
Hello.
Right, to help individuals right here in Seattle who need the help without homes, right, just to make it look good. The help should have been on its way long before the World Cup reared its head, right, out of love, care, and concern, not just to make it look good so when people come here, they don't see all of the homelessness as they pass on to go to the World Cup. That's my first thought.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, hey, listen, there's new toilets down there, too. I mean, they're definitely for World Cup. You can go sit on a throne right now with an app and all kinds of things.
Right.
Marvin, any thoughts?
I think the idea of, you said 40?
Yeah, 40.
Why just 40?
It might be all the bread they got for it, It's almost like doing the cookout.
Yeah, no, definitely. Then that, begs to question, long-term, longevity. What does this look like? Is this a Band-Aid on a open wound?
Absolutely.
Or whatnot, like Eddie said, the help should have come long before the World Cup came.
Yeah, I think most people can agree that, it's this surge of everything, this sense of urgency. And I think maybe we'll probably discuss that later on. But we find, our people find certain senses of urgency around things that they feel are important.
Right.
They're able to find resources, search funds, work together. You find people who don't even like each other. They be like, we going to work together because they feel a sense of urgency around something. And
absolutely,
it would be good if we can get that sense of urgency around things that impact us. But hey. All right, we're going to keep it moving here. This was great news at Seattle City Council yesterday. I was there. Eric Calligraphy was there. FA was there. Even Deontay Damper was in the house, where the city of Seattle, they read a proclamation yesterday where they have made June 6th forever Amar Ashawn Murphy Payne Day in the city of Seattle. We got some video.
For me personally, justice doesn't mean handcuffs and bars. What we're doing right now today, that's justice for me. But as far as the job that you guys have to do, this city has to do, and they owe everybody else that's walking out here supposed to feel safe, there's a murderer still walking. And stop thinking about ourselves because it's not happening to you. Stop thinking about ourselves in that selfish manner and because it's not happening to you. Let's start thinking about who it's happening to and really let's make the changes and get those murderers off the street. They didn't have no remorse when they pulled the trigger. Let's have no remorse when we put them in handcuffs. How about that?
The school they have no protection for him, for none of the kids. what kind of justice it is for black children. Tell me. Tell me. Tell me. What kind of justice is it for black children? My big grandson is dead just at a school. What can you do? What are you going to do? That's all I need to know.
Emotional moments there yesterday in Seattle City Council chambers. After the reading of the proclamation, the council president suspended council rules and allowed the family members to speak. You heard right there initially from Aaron and then also from Aaron's mother, who, man, she brought a lot of smoke and emotion up there last night or yesterday afternoon. End result, though, is that the proclamation is now entered, and June 6th is Amar Murphy Payne Day in the city of Seattle. But, man, some emotional things that you heard there, Eddie Purpose. First of all, what do you think of the proclamation, and then also what you heard?
I think the proclamation is dope. I think it's necessary. I think it, it is an acknowledgement of one family's pain, especially from a life that was taken inside of the schools. But with that pain, right? A friend of mine just told me, right? You can't. Grief is irrational, right? You can't rationalize grief, and so there's no right or wrong answer concerning how somebody feels with the loss of their loved one. But the work that we do, right? We provide service to individuals on both ends of the gun, right? And so there's pain, there's grief on both sides, right? And there's healing that needs to take place on both sides as well, man. So I heard a lot of pain, right? I heard a lot of frustration. I heard some demands for justice, which is in the form of punishment. In this American society we live in, man, when it comes to punishment, it's to lock them up and throw away the key. But I would even beg to say, when that young man, whoever does get incarcerated, like, what type of help would he receive in order to become a better version of himself? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Any thoughts, Marvin?
Yeah, no, it's definitely tough. It's definitely tough. I didn't get a chance to meet Amar. Rest in love, of course. My heart goes out to his family. But I have met Aaron, and I've had the pleasure of being in space with that brother. And, he's definitely doing some powerful work, in the name of his son, of course.
Yeah.
But he's definitely doing some powerful work, some powerful organizing. And, it's tough, and then to also kind of touch on what Eddie said, when you start to look at these things through a restorative lens, what does that look like,
Right.
And just the idea of the justice system, if you will, I don't know if we can call it that all the way, but just the idea of mass incarceration
Right.
and what that looks like, we could talk for 2 hours on that if
Right.
you wanted to, but not to even mention that in the moment that they're going through what they're going through, because you hear a lot of pain, but the one thing that I can't stop thinking about is how community violence always sends ripples through the community. Ripples, and you're usually a degree or two of separation away from knowing somebody or knowing somebody that knows somebody or whatnot, and so I didn't get a chance to meet Amar, but I have met his father, and been in space with folks, and then other people that I know were impacted by a situation like that, and other situations in the community where young people are losing their lives, and on both sides, like Eddie spoke about, when you're working with both sides of a situation,
Right.
there's oftentimes two young people that are losing their lives,
Right.
whether it be one going into the ground and no longer with us, and the other one going into a system that's, a revolving door, so. It's definitely heartbreaking, and my condolences definitely go out to those
Absolutely.
who've lost their loved ones. But the justice system,
Right.
Well, we're going to definitely get into these perspectives that you guys have here, because it sounds like, You got more to say, but you're just not saying it right now because you're not supposed to because it's the headline section. You're going to take us off. We're going to be all out of time over here, but we got you. Right. Don't worry. All right, we're going to keep it moving over here, man. We're going to head to Skyway. In unincorporated King County, and the word on the street is that Skyway's got more black people per capita than any other jurisdiction in the state of Washington. This story right here, King County secures site for Skyway's first community center. Man, this is dope. According to my guy, Aaron Allen in the Seattle Medium, King County has purchased a 3.2-acre former Skyway Park Bowl. Man, got some memories of that bowling alley. Right. Property to serve as the permanent location for Skyway's first community center, realizing a decades-long vision for local residents. Prompted by community concerns over losing valuable green space at a previously proposed site, county officials selected the central transit-accessible bowling alley location, which will seamlessly connect to adjacent Skyway Park. The planned 25,000 square foot facility is expected to feature a gymnasium, fitness area, community kitchen, and youth-focused spaces. Backed by local leaders and organizations like the Skyway Coalition, the community engagement will continue through 2026 to guide the ongoing design of the new neighborhood hub. First of all, man, this is great news for Skyway. You know what I'm saying? Can we get a hand over here? You know what I'm saying? Like, man, Skyway is like often just overlooked. Right. You know what I'm saying? Because they're an unincorporated part of King County, they're overlooked in services like all the time. Man, they don't really get no resources and everything. Man, Skyway getting ready to have a bowling alley. I mean, look at me. I'm still stuck in the past. Forgive me. I had them good bowling alley memories.
Like you said, a lot of good memories.
Yeah, they get ready to have a community center, man. This is good stuff. Your thoughts, Marvin?
I think that's dope. You know, community centers, when I was a kid, they saved a lot of young people. You know, they gave folks things to do, places to be. You know, when I was a kid, we used to have the special. You know, I grew up going to Rainier Community Center, South Shore Rainier Beach Community Center, and the special was not out of service, but off hours bus, metro bus, and they would actually drive the bus line and take folks home. You know, and so you were able to go hang out and be out, and then still also make it home, even if your parents couldn't, you know, bring you and come get you, you know, or whatnot. And so I think it's dope. The community center is definitely a space where I think it can help a lot of young people stay out the way, stay off the streets, and just keep positive pro-social activities going. Yeah. You know, now what they'll have in the community center is a whole nother thing, you know, but I think the idea of the community center is dope, and it gives us a starting space to build on and give those young people in Skyway. And Skyway is a part of the community where a lot of people that don't even live in Skyway end up in Skyway or passing through Skyway, and so I definitely think it'll be dope for the community up on the hill.
Yeah, Eddie?
No, I agree. I think that's dope. I think, you know, when we talk about a community center, not just the community center, but things to do that's youth friendly, right? Because as we know, a lot of these young people really don't have a lot to do. So if they got a space they can call their own, that they can go to, learn something, have fun in a safe space that they could call their own, I think that's going to be very important, very impactful to the community. You know, I didn't know that statistic that you just said as far as Skyway being the
all
most
the black
I definitely didn't know that.
That's where all the best cookouts be,
that's the back end of the South here for sure. And so that's needed. You know what I mean? That's definitely needed. But like I said, I would definitely I hope that it's not just a community center, but it's a community center with a youth focus where young people can go there, enjoy their time, enjoy themselves, have good, safe fun, right? And can leave with something that's going to help them, right? And that's going to cure their boredom.
Definitely. I remember growing up playing ping pong, basketball, going to Vista dances, all the stuff, you know. Well, before they remodeled the Vista, but you know, the old building, going to Vista dances and all that, you know. So I definitely think, to your point, having youth-friendly, you know, youth-focused programming will definitely be, and for it to be an accessible space for young people.
Absolutely.
Being able to meet young people where they're at, you know, still create an environment that's safe and welcoming.
All right, good stuff. So listen, we made it through the headlines. You guys still in one piece? Huh? You know, look, there you go. Huh?
We popping it on the pop-up.
It was a sense of nervousness. It's Big O pulling out the headlines today. Oh, my goodness. All right, listen, we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to learn more about both of these organizations, the Progress Pushers and the Freedom Project.
Freedom Project.
Just blanked on me. Look, man, I get paid to remember this stuff. Freedom Project. They gonna dock my pay. You're watching the pop-up.
Black women in Washington faced more than twice the risk of syphilis in 2024, but cases are falling as we learn the facts and look out for ourselves. Yet 1 in 10 pregnant cases were among Black women. But more than half of potential congenital cases were prevented with early care. Early testing makes a difference. Get tested and protect yourself. Protect your child. Protect the community.
Hey, what's up, everybody? JD here. I'm tapping in to make sure you go to juneteenthwa.com to find out everything that's going on and stay up to date on all the stuff that will be happening at Juneteenth this year. The event, we are moving to the beautiful Hobb Field and parking lot A down over there. Make sure you go to the website to hear about everything. We're having a car show this year. We're doing the Taste of Juneteenth this year. And on the main stage, we are bringing Erica Campbell, Crystal Aiken, and Life Jennings, and we have some great local acts that you may have heard of, maybe you haven't, but you will hear about them on Juneteenth. So make sure you go to the website to learn everything you need to know about the event. Also, you can RSVP on the event if you want to be a vendor, if you want to be a sponsor, if you want to be a food truck. All that is on the website, juneteenthwa.com. If you want to sign up for the car show, juneteenthwa.com. We'll see you here. Peace.
All right, welcome back to the pop-up. My name is Omari Salisbury, also known as the Big O, coming to you live from the Black Media Matters studios right here in downtown Seattle. This is Together We End Gun Violence Week. And, man, today we're talking to two organizational leaders here. We just got done with the headlines. We've got Eddie Purpose from the Freedom Project. And, by the way, man, this is what you call coordinate. Look at go. Yeah, look at that.
That's that flavor, man.
Marvin kind of brought it too, but you know that he's got like the middle school. You know what I'm saying? There was the top, the bottom. Look like Eddie got a whole blend.
All the stuff, huh? He got all the stuff.
He got all the stuff here, man. What is this? Is this every day for you?
It's every day,
dressed
man.
up for us?
It's every day, man. You know, we got young people, man. We got to pop up with the young people, man. Let them see, man, what's going on.
Okay, I see. I feel you. And Marvin, you ain't doing too bad either, though.
Oh, I just came from baseball, honestly. My kids had a baseball game, so I just came from coaching baseball.
Okay, well, you guys is looking fresh out here. I knew you was going to do it. I want to come out in my cargo shorts and white beater, but you know what I'm saying?
It's been raining.
Hey, but I can do it. So, all right, well, man, first of all, we'll start with you. Eddie, here's what I'd like you to do, because we also have a video that we want to play. So maybe you can tell us what is Progress Pushers?
Progress Pushers is a nonprofit organization that I founded in 2018. Our mission is to guide, educate, and empower Black and brown youth and young adults and those most impacted by societal systems by connecting them to much needed mentors and opportunities so they can in return live in their greatness, right? So we service youth and young adults ages 12 through 24 throughout King County, specifically in Federal Way, in Berrien, in White Center, and in West Seattle. And so we're in schools, we're in juvenile institutions, and of course we're in communities, not saving young people, but giving them tools so they can in return save themselves. And so that looks like connecting young people to mentors, to provide various service when it comes to housing, employment, education, really addressing their needs, not what we want for them, but what they want for themselves. Progress Pushers, we also host community events where we educate the community on various topics. We also provide credible messenger trainings, which we will be having our first of the year credible messenger training the week of July 13th, where we'll be training other.
So, I'm going to jump in right there.
Jump in.
See, this was what I threw you is I threw you like just a tee up to tee up this great video that we have about you.
Okay.
And then we're supposed to come
Oh,
back.
okay, yeah.
And then you'd be like, oh yeah, December we doing this. And
Okay,
then,
yeah, I can go, man. I can go with it. Yeah.
All right. So, but we heard that part, and Progress Pushers is dope.
Yeah, we
and
do a
it's
lot.
so dope though that we sent a camera crew last year to an event, a Lockbox giveaway event that you had in West Seattle. We'll play that video right now.
We got lock boxes. Shout out to 100 Days of Peace. Shout out to the Regional Peacekeepers Collective. Of course, shout out to Progress Pushers. Shout out to our DJ right here. We got a host of different vendors to come to bring this community feel, right, to the community. We want to show love, and we want young people to know that they are loved, they're seen, and we want them to have a good time and receive a message doing it. We have our corn guy, Terrell. We got our barber guy doing free haircuts, free corn. We're giving backpacks away. We have free phones over there by Stand Up, wireless. So a credible messenger is somebody who comes from same environments, who gets it in a way that other would-be teachers and individuals may not get it. And so when we're seeing this uptick of crime, when we're seeing a lot of issues within schools and the educational system, credible messengers are individuals who relate in a different way to young people, right? And so we're connecting with them in schools, we're connecting with them in juvenile institutions, and we're also connecting with them, of course, in community. Speaking their language, getting them to get jobs, getting them housing, getting them to reach their goals, helping them create action steps in order to accomplish that goal. All around the board mentorship.
Like, this is about real community work. Folks doing this stuff together in solidarity and in collaboration. And I think that's how it's supposed to be done. And I think that's when it's real. You know what I'm saying?
So the performers that we have today are young participants who actually has been ushered through our program, what we don't even like to call our program, our transformational process, different message. Because what we do know within today's music, unfortunately and sadly, there's a lot of false messages, right? And so we want young people to be mindful of the message that they're receiving and the message that they're putting out. And so the messages that they're having in their music is all positive. Yes, they're talking about streets. Yes, they're talking about the life that they live, but they're not glorifying none of it. The message to the community is this, right? We pushing progress, not regress. There is no middle stage, right? There is no middle stance. Some people say they're stuck in this stance. There is no stance. If you're stuck, that means you're going backwards anyway, right? And so also I want to say, you're either part of the solution or you are the problem, right? So what are you doing in your community to help upbuild, right? What are you doing in your community to help uplift? We got a lot of complainers that's pointing fingers at young people and what they're doing and what they're not doing, but who's helping young people, right? Who's empowering young people? Who's connecting and directing young people in the ways that you feel that they should go, right? Or they feel that they should go. So that's my message, absolutely.
Friend. All right, Eddie Purpose. Man, tell us a little bit about that event. You know what I'm saying? What was the catalyst for it in the Lockbox giveaway?
So that was an event off of Alki and West Seattle, and what we did was pass out, I believe it was 150 gun lock boxes. It's really promoting gun safety, right? We heard a story, which is not unfamiliar, right? In terms of an older brother who had a gun, a young brother got access to that gun and ended up killing himself with the gun, right? And so when we talk about gun safety, being able to secure your arms, this is very important. And so we was preaching out gun safety, passing out those lock boxes. We're doing the same thing this year. We just did one at White Center literally a few hours ago, where we passed out 100 lock boxes. Preaching and teaching safety to the community. We're getting ready to do the same thing this Friday in Federal Way at our Progress Pushers location from 4 to 6. And then we're also doing one in Burien Friday, earlier that day at the Burien Town Square.
Yeah, I mean, man, there's a lot of guns out here.
It is.
And people have to kind of live in the reality. There's a lot of legal guns and illegal guns and 3D printed guns and, guns. And, how would you define your relationship with the King County Regional Office of Gun Violence Prevention?
Shout out to the King County Regional Office of Gun Violence Prevention. Absolutely. So many of our staff at Progress Pushers, right, was able to get brought on through that Office of Gun Violence Prevention. And what we do, we're part of the Regional Peacekeepers Collective up under that. And we're one of a few different organizations to address gun violence here in King County. And so what that looks like is, we're going to the schools to provide safe passages in certain hotspot areas to provide safe passages. We're also doing outreach in certain areas, getting young people to get enrolled. There's a certain element of criteria that they must reach. And so what that looks like is individuals who has been impacted in one way or another, whether they've been a perpetrator or a victim. Again, we are dealing with individuals who are on both ends of the spectrum. And we're providing them those resources so they can ultimately live in their greatness, and they're getting connected with individuals who also has previous lived experience, right? And so that's the beauty of this partnership with these community organizations as well as the system, right? And so we're addressing this gun violence by any and all means through different ways in schools, in juvenile institutions, of course, in communities. Just getting young people to recognize their greatness so they can live in their greatness.
All right, good stuff. Now, Marvin, tell us a little bit about the Freedom Project. It's just the same thing now. I got a video too, okay? So tell us a little bit, and then we're going to play the video.
Definitely. Freedom Project is a community-based organization. It's been around for 20-something odd years or so. Started in a facility here in a prison here in Washington and Monroe as a nonviolent communication program. And nonviolent communication, NVC, is a communication framework rooted in empathy and healing and things of that nature. And it's blossomed into the community-based organization we are now. We do a lot of reentry work, working inside, outside, working with folks, to amplify voices, to push bills and things of that nature that impact our communities. Do a lot of work with the BPC. We have a lot of advocacy, which you probably have a video from our Youth Advocacy Day. We have housing, which we're working through the educational lens to help folks access different resources. Housing case managers helping folks in transitional housing, emergency housing, things of that nature. We have a Pathways to Home Ownership program where we're helping folks get information about home ownership. What else? Of course, we have our CVI programs, our community-based, intervention programs, working with organizations such as Progress Pushers and others and different initiatives to combat community-based violence. And then we also have a food justice program working with a few Black or BIPOC food vendors to help, one, get them some funding through their doors, get more traffic through their doors, and, to be able to highlight the partnership, but then also to address food insecurities with folks that we work with in community. We also just started a podcast around overdose prevention.
They do a lot.
No, definitely. And then what else?
Well, let me cut you off because he cut me off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now I wasn't even able to get my
I
whole
was waiting
rundown.
for him to drop one more thing.
You know what I mean?
And I was getting ready to be like, Marvin, man, send him to the website.
No, definitely. We'll cap it at that. But yeah, no, just to sum it all up, Freedom Project is an organization that does a lot of different work in community.
Absolutely.
Trying to focus on working with, it's a lot of mission-based work, focusing on working with BIPOC communities to help tear down oppressive systems. And so that can look a lot of different ways. I just mentioned a lot of the different expansive programming we have. But I think at the end of the day, it's folks from community working in community to help heal community.
All right.
Absolutely.
From community, seeking to heal community. And on that note, we have a video right here of Advocacy Day where young people made the trip down to Olympia with the Freedom Project to make their voices heard.
Man, we're in Olympia, Washington. Today's Advocacy Day. So we brought a cohort all the way up from the Seattle area. It includes probably 15 plus youth. And so we down here, keeping our young folks civically engaged, staying abreast of the bills, that's gonna be up for being passed this legislative session. And yeah, just down here amongst community. First and foremost, we want our youth to be politically inclined and civically engaged, just so they know what that process looked like. But as far as the group Freedom Project, we are pushing for the Ebony Alert, something that's similar to the Amber Alert, but specific to young Black and older Black women.
I work more towards helping other people in teaching them how to be open about these things, because there's always a stigma something that people might not talk about or feel comfortable talking about, when in reality it's never your fault for the things that people have done in the past. So having the person who speaks out about having a family member who is incarcerated will release the stigma around it, and also just having youth feel like they have a space to be freely themselves at the end of the day. Freedom Project is a nonprofit organization that helps incarcerated individuals in and out of prison and helps youth stay out of troublesome situations. Maybe their community is not the safest, or maybe they just didn't have those role models growing up. And Freedom Project kind of helps with that. They have mentoring programs, they have youth programs, like they had recently back 2025, a civic engagement program, which I was one of the leaders of that, which was really fun. We taught people ages, I believe, 12 to 24. And it was a very open space, and they just continue to help build spaces for people who might need those spaces.
All right, a snippet there from Advocacy Day down in Olympia. Got some young people down there. How important are these kind of trips, bringing young people down there to the state capitol, and especially advocating for something as important as the Ebony Alert?
Definitely. I think it's big when you can help cultivate the next generation of leaders. And a lot of those young people are very, very powerful. You only heard a couple voices, but it was a group of 20, 25 young people, and being able to see them, take their advocacy to the next level, and to be exposed to different things, and being able to take them down to Olympia and let them do a lot of the organizing and, see their growth. It's definitely been dope, so.
That's dope.
All right. Well, we've learned more about both of your organizations. We even added in, this is called production value. We added in video and all kinds of good stuff there. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're talking about working collectively to end gun violence. You're watching The Pop-Up.
Solutions for Seattle, June 17th, T-Mobile Park. Y'all know what it is. Log on to the website, www.solutionsforseattle.com, and be a part of youth empowerment. Let's empower the youth. This is a call to action, a ticket challenge. I need everybody to tap in. Y'all know what it is. Solutions for Seattle.
Ole, 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 ole. Ole, 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 ole. Ole, 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 ole.
This summer, Metro connects the world. Now's your chance to join the Days to Come Reading Challenge to ignite the civic imagination needed for racial repair in Washington state. Read, discuss, and take action until Juneteenth to bring Dr. King's vision of a truly just society to life. Visit saarcpnw.org for more information.
Hey, what's up, everybody? JD here. I'm tapping in to make sure you go to JuneteenthWA.com to find out everything that's going on and stay up to date on all the stuff that will be happening at Juneteenth this year. The event, we are moving to the beautiful Hobb Field and parking lot A down over there. Make sure you go to the website to hear about everything. We're having a car show this year. We're doing the Taste of Juneteenth this year. And on the main stage, we are bringing Erica Campbell, Crystal Aiken, and Life Jennings, and we have some great local acts that you may have heard of, maybe you haven't, but you will hear about them on Juneteenth. So make sure you go to the website to learn everything you need to know about the event. Also, you can RSVP on the event if you want to be a vendor, if you want to be a sponsor, if you want to be a food truck. All that is on the website, JuneteenthWA.com. If you want to sign up for the car show, JuneteenthWA.com. We'll see you here. Peace.
All right, welcome back to the pop-up broadcasting live downtown Seattle. I am your host, Omari Salisbury, and man, we're being joined by the fabulously dressed Eddie Purpose. He's up in here, and he's still matching and coordinated. Marvin Marshall. From Freedom Project. You know what I'm saying? You know, we have fun on this show. You know,
Absolutely.
Everybody be so, because the issues that we talk about is already be so serious.
That's right.
You feel me? That it's like, man, somehow, you know, I end up in the crazy house. If I, you know, we got to have some fun here. So we want to come back in this portion right here. We'll start with you, Eddie, because you look all revved up to answer some questions here. All right. Why is working as a collective important when preventing gun violence?
Well, it's always necessary because when you look at any issues within history and American histories, right, especially black issues, it always took other individuals to be involved, white allies as well, right, in order to push the agenda in the way that pushes the needle, right? When we talk about the collective, that means everybody coming together, right? There's an old statement that says it takes a community to raise a child, right? But then somebody else told me, no, it takes a healthy community to raise a child, right?
Yeah, it takes a village.
Well,
that too,
yeah. Well, it takes a healthy village, right, to raise a child, right? And so that means that everybody's coming together on one accord in a collective in the efforts to do their parts. So if everybody's doing their parts, we'll have less issues.
Okay. Same question, Marvin.
Definitely. I think to the point, when you think about this as an ecosystem, you know, and to see the different parts of the ecosystem working together, I think is important. No one person, no one organization has all the answers.
Right.
You know, so collectively we can move the needle. We're going to get further the more we come together, stand together, and pull our resources together and being able to support, whether that's making referrals to each other, whether that's supporting each other's events, whether that's, you know, going for funding together collectively, all those different things matter. And then when you think about the ecosystem and the other parts of the ecosystem that are not necessarily community-based organizations, so when you start to think about the system, whether it be law enforcement, the courts, being able to work collectively, other counseling agencies and things of that nature, you talk about RPKC having a hospital-based intervention, being able to go on the front end as soon as something's happened in the community and being able to support folks from the hospital to, you know, whatever the next step is definitely important. So I think, you know, just as far as the ecosystem being able to support at different parts of the process is definitely important. And, you know, we'll get further the more we stand together collectively.
Right. And I'll start this next question here with you. Why is it important for communities to work with established systems to reduce violence?
Definitely. Being a part of a few different initiatives, I think it can be important because when you talk about the ecosystem and healthy community, what does that look like? You have to have healthy parts of the ecosystem operating collectively together, supporting each other. And so some of the times where we've sat at different tables, some of our best referrals have come from like law enforcement, and that can be one of the things that can be tricky, just when you think about the history of law enforcement with the black community and things of that nature and how historically our communities have been policed. I think it can also be important when you get in spaces with the right folks, when you get the right butts in the right seats. Some of our best referrals have come from law enforcement, from somebody having a lens, an alternative lens that understands that every situation doesn't need a gun and a badge. Maybe they need an outreach worker, and they've been able to make referrals. Or when you talk about our school system, when we're not just suspending kids and kicking them out of school, when we're able to get somebody who can advocate for them and be able to support them through that, I think it's definitely important. So when you talk about the systems, I think it's important because we all have a part to play. From a community-based organization standpoint, it might be my part to support that young person, that community member, as we call them. We don't call them participants or things of that nature. Language matters. And so, when the community we're working with, it might be my job to support that community member through X, Y, and Z. And X, Y, and Z might be school, it might be a job, it might be navigating a few other hurdles or other things in their life, and somebody else in that ecosystem will play another part in that support, and so I think collectively working together, it'll definitely be more beneficial to the community member. And then and I'll close in saying this, I'll toss it to you, Eddie, not just working with systems, but working together is important. When we ask young people to have that conflict resolution and, whether it be put the guns down or settle their beefs. And oftentimes we want to pull them into spaces together. And, it's important for us to model that same behavior, and so when you talk about community-based organizations being able to stand together and work together, how can we ask young people to settle their beefs when we can't show them the same conflict resolution or whatnot? And so I think it's definitely dope when we can stand together as community-based organizations and not be pitted against each other, not put our heads in the sand and just focus on the work we're doing, but we can collectively embrace each other, I think is important. So not just to get away from the systems folks, but just as far as working together collaboratively, I think is definitely something that bodes well for community.
All right, and Eddie, same question for you. Why is it important for communities to work with established systems to reduce violence?
Well, I think it's important for communities to work with established systems because communities can only do so much, right? When we have the system in collaboration with communities, fighting and speaking on these issues, fighting and speaking for funds, going to Olympia, speaking on policy, right, in collaboration opposed to just one entity. Now you have both entities fighting together. Right now we're showing a certain level of togetherness that other systems need to see, right? And so, yeah, I think it's very important. I think it's necessary. And again, when you look at history and any black movement within history, in order to push that needle forward, you've seen collaboration with community and systems working together in order to accomplish that, right? And so that's the same thing we're experiencing now in 2026.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that
also, brother, not to cut you off, but everything we do is an emphasis on young people, youth and young adults, right? And so when we talk about it's not about me, it's not about community, it's not about the system, it's really about the young people that we're servicing. So if we're talking about the young people that we're servicing and have that focus, then we should be able to work together in order to meet the goal of the young person, right?
Right. I mean, and yeah, I think that, from my perspective, I don't do the work that you guys do, but I mean, a lot of this stuff is integrated. What we heard yesterday from Eleuthera, I think that maybe when we throw out systems, people automatically might think law enforcement.
Right.
But I mean, public health is a system.
Education is a system.
I mean, look, and even in you guys' work, the big data that they collect over at Harborview is impactful to. There's systems that are out there that feed in to the work. Like I said, what you guys do better than me. But I just think that it might be important for the viewer to know that when we talk about systems as well, it isn't just the police. There are other systems in place that actually are positive feeders into the work that you do.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're not just, hell no, we're not just,
No, you are.
We're not just talking about that level of system. We are talking about the public school system. We are talking about the juvenile detention system, right? These systems working in collaboration allows us to support young people in a way that they need to be supported, because the system by itself can't support the young people that we serve, right? So they need community, and we need them in order to reach them in a way where we're going to where they're at in the school, in the juvenile institution, right? And so it has to be collaboration in that aspect for us to reach those young people in a way that needs to be reached. Absolutely. So no, it's not just the law enforcement system. It's not just probation system. It's definitely the educational system and all these other systems working in collaboration with community. And they have to be on the same page as well to understand the importance of community being at the forefront of that work.
I hear you. Okay. The system is the system, man.
Yeah. The system gonna be the system,
it is lots of facets to it. All right, we're going to move on from the system to lived experience, man. We're going to take a quick break right now. When we come back, we're going to talk about the importance of lived experience in the everyday work that Marvin and Eddie do. You're watching The Pop-Up.
Everyone show up for each other. In the barbershop, at home, in the group chat, we check in. Not just you good, but really good.
Because the health of your friends and family matter, and they need you to check in. Healthy men keep each other safe.
And real ones check in on the ones we love. Because when we tap in, we stay healthy together.
Discover the raw, essential story of Northwest modernism through the Seattle Art Museum's Beyond Mysticism. This exhibition features over 150 pieces celebrating the region's natural beauty and urban life. Get your tickets today at seattleartmuseum.org. We'll see you there.
Ole, 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 ole. Ole, ole.
This summer, Metro connects the world.
All right, welcome back to The Pop-Up, broadcasting live from the Black Media Matters studios here in downtown Seattle. I'm your host, the Big O. And, man, we're having a great conversation here as together we end Gun Violence Week, and we're joined by Eddie Purpose from the Progress Pushers and Marvin Marshall from the Freedom Project. We're having a great conversation here about the work that they do. Man, it doesn't sound like easy work. It sounds like it's very important work. Question here. I think we ended the last one. We started the last one with you, Marvin. So we'll start this one with you, Eddie. Now, I don't even need my notes on this, man, because I really here's something that, as a media person, I really think people go to the well too many times on this one, man. You know what I'm saying? And it in doing so, it might dilute the overall work that people do. But the question to you is, and let me read it here in the best way. Why is it important, or no, why is leveraging lived experience important in public safety work? And before you answer that, I just preface it because it's a lot of people who are like, I think they just ride that. They're like, yeah, well, man, I've been in the system. Now I'm qualified. Right. You know what I'm saying? My lived experience is like, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, I think that when people just throw that out there, you know, it cheapens the fact of other people who, yes, had lived experience, but then built upon that, learned other things, X, Y. You get what I'm saying?
Absolutely. No, you're 100% right? Shout out to my team, right? Who over 90% of our staff has lived experience, right? But it's not just stops at lived experience, right? It excels to trained professionals, right? When I say trained professionals, ongoing trainings in order to enhance their skill set mixed with their experience, right? To be able to be effective in the lives of these young people. And that's what it takes, right? It's not just somebody who's been through a certain experience and they say, oh, I got something to say to these youngsters. It's way more than that, right? How have you been trained in order to connect with these young people, right? Because it's not about your story. You can utilize your story to help relate to this young person, but then what, right? What type of skills did you receive along the way in order to bring out the greatness that's within this young person, right? Guide this young person towards the path that they need to be on, right? That's when we talk about trained professionals who's been trained in certain models where they understand what they need to say through motivational interviewing, through cognitive behavioral therapy, and through other means in terms of realizing and recognizing and help withdrawing the greatness of young people, right?
Yeah. Okay. So I hear what I hear you saying is like, yeah, there's lived experience, and there's building on that experience because you know, like I said, man, we in the media get bombarded by people who tell us that, like, man, you know, my lived experience means X, Y, and Z, and we be like, yeah, well, I mean, we got like a lived experience too, but you know what I'm saying? I don't know. It's a weird kind of space at times, and I think that I'm happy to hear you say that at Progress Pushers, it doesn't just stop at the fact that, yeah, you've lived through something.
Right. Because I don't have the history of, right, being an addict, right? It takes somebody else who has been an addict to work with an addict. But they had to receive a certain level of education, understanding, experience, and training, right, in order to be able to relate to them in a certain way and get them out of their own addictions. Same thing when it comes to young people who's going through certain things concerning gun violence, concerning being re-engaged with school, concerning being incarcerated and things of that nature, right? It's individuals who has that lived experience, but again, we also have certain trainings that would allow us to effectively engage with them in a way that will ultimately lead to them becoming their best versions of themselves.
Marvin, same question for you. How important is lived experience in the public safety world?
Definitely. I think it's very important. I think one thing to just name, you know, everybody who has lived experience is not a mentor.
Right.
For sure, you know, but I think from a relatability standpoint, being able to meet the young people where they're at, to share the lens that they've, you know, that they might be looking through, I think is important. But to Eddie's point, you know, it doesn't stop with you having lived experience. You know, that story that you have should only be used maybe to relate to certain parts of the support to the story or whatnot. But it's like I tell my staff, you should very rarely use your story to engage with young people.
I'm gonna need to pull your mic a little closer.
Okay.
People need to hear this good talk, brother.
Boom. Mic check.
Yeah.
Am I good?
Yeah,
okay.
drop them bars. There you go.
Yeah, but it's like I tell some of my staff, you know, you should very rarely use your story to relate to a young person. You know, that might get your foot in the door, but then what do you have after that?
Right.
You know, and so you're definitely going to need to have some training, and like Eddie mentioned, ongoing training, you know. to where you could be in a position to help the young person realize their greatness. Because at the end of the day, it's not about you.
Right.
It's about the young person. It's about the community member. We work with youth and young adults as well. And being able to go through rigorous training, continuous training, and be in a position to give them some news they can use is important. And your story is not the news that they can use, And so I think it's definitely important, but to the point, I think the training that goes into the staff, I pride myself in being a second chance employer. For sure we're going to be giving people in community or from community chances to do work in community. That's part of my why and why I got into this work. The idea that I was once one of the young people kicking up dust, and felt a duty, a sense of, felt like I owed it to my community to give back to my community. And so when I first got into this work on the ground doing outreach, I thought it was dope that I could leverage my lived experience, the passion, pain, and trauma that I went through to be able to help others navigate similar hurdles. That was eye-opening for me, and it was healing. It helped me in my journey. When I first got into this work, I wasn't all the way healed. I'm still not all the way healed, to be honest. We all works in progress, but I was still early in my journey trying to figure it out, and so being able to do this work and, continue to grow in this work helped me heal and, helped me on my journey. I'm now a father of 4, and so when I first got into this work, I was having my first son, and so as my why changes, I've grown into leadership and held different positions along the way. So my why kind of changes or has changed. And so now one of the big parts of the work I do is I enjoy being a second chance employer, being able to be a resource to community. So whether it be creating programming for community, giving that real-time assessment of community, what are the needs, or being able to leverage our platform to be able to give folks from community a chance to do work in the communities that they live in, the communities that they come from. Those are big parts of my why now. But to answer your question, it's very important to give folks that have lived experience opportunities to do work, I think, because it's also kind of questions the idea of what we think of as work experience.
Right.
And for me, it's like, how can I give folks, it's not about just being able to give folks opportunities to do the job or do the work, but how can I keep them in the work? How can I help them level up? I want them to come do work with us for a little while and then go on to do work somewhere else in community, bigger and better, And so the idea of being an outreach worker is not a lifetime thing. I expect you to come here, grow, and then go somewhere else and do something else. And maybe that's doing outreach in another space. Maybe it's growing to be in the leadership position. Maybe it's something, totally different. But I'm hoping that you've acquired skills that will help you in your journey, So I think it's definitely important to have folks from community doing the work in community and that lived experience. The idea of lived experience being work experience is definitely something that I think is necessary.
All right. Now, I see we're at time here, but I got one more question for you. And we'll start here with you, Marvin. What does Together We End Gun Violence mean to you?
Together We End Gun Violence. For me, it's the idea of just working collectively, being able to create that wraparound service. And I spoke about this before when you talk about the ecosystem and the different parts of the ecosystem and us all looking to try to move towards healthy community. So Together We End Gun Violence, I think, is one of those things where when we look at community violence through a public health lens and start to look at it like all of our issue, I think that's where we can start to look at it like collectively together we can make some change. Together, collectively, we can move the needle.
All right. Eddie?
Man, everybody got a part to play. Everybody has a part to play concerning this gun violence, right? We talk about the numbers being down. Yes, the numbers have decreased concerning gun violence, but any death, right, should affect us all. One death of a young person should affect us all. So we all got a role to play, whether in your schools, whether in your communities, whether in your working in King County for the city or wherever you're working. We all got a part to play. So the question is, what are we doing collectively, individually, in order to address this problem? Because you're either part of the solution or you are the problem, right?
No, that's true. So said either you were part of the solution or you're part of the problem.
There we go.
Yeah, that's the seriousness of the lens. You know what I'm saying? The seriousness of this issue here surrounding gun violence. Marvin Marshall, Eddie Purpose, appreciate both of you guys tapping in with us. This is real quick here. So, Eddie, it's not a whole soliloquy. But, Eddie, this is your camera right here. This one here to the right.
Yeah.
You can tell people how they can catch up with you or any of your upcoming events.
Oh, man, Eddie Purpose on social media platforms. Progress Pushers on social media platforms, progresspushers.org. Shout out to our Progress Pushers staff, who's a wonderful, wonderful staff. Shout out to the young people, youth and young adults, man, who's doing whatever they need to do in order to accomplish their goals. And shout out to my kids, too.
Hello. You got to throw that in there. All right, Marvin, your camera's the one right there with the teleprompter with the glass on it.
Okay. Of course, freedomprojectwa.org is the website. You can definitely find us. We will be doing a pop-up event, a gun lockbox giveaway. There will be food, music, and other giveaways this Friday in Renton at the Renton Community Center, 1 to about 2:30 or so. Definitely come find us. We're downtown Renton, around the corner from Renton High School. So you can definitely drop in on us if you need services or whatnot. Find our website and on social media platforms, Freedom Project WA. Yeah, and of course, shout out to all the folks in community doing the work, not just our org. There's other orgs that we work with and collaborate with as well. You know, shout out to all the folks in the community doing their part in the ecosystem. And then, of course, my kids. Shout out to May and Melly.
Hey, there it is. I mean, I like that. Hey, man, both they working in the kids. All right, well, I appreciate you guys joining us on the pop-up this evening.
Popping it with the pop-up, man. Big shout out to O. Appreciate you, brother.
Hey. All right, before we get out of here, man, a little house cleaning. E2, that's the Lockbox giveaway for the office, the King County Regional Office of Gun Violence Prevention. Ariana's like, yeah, he finally got it. You know what I'm saying? Man, it's a lot of a lockbox giveaway. And we talked about this. We've been talking about the lockboxes for the last few days, and it's sometimes people trivialize it, and we see in comments like, "Oh, these guys just giving away these lockboxes or whatever." But people don't understand is that so many. There's unintentional deaths around. Firearms. There's suicides around firearms. And then, of course, there's what we see out here in these streets as well. And another thing I'll say along the lines of the lockbox, every time I talk to Seattle Police Chief Sean Barnes, says, please do not keep your firearm in your car. He said so many firearms make their way to the streets because they were stolen out of a car. Firearm safety is a real thing, and I think that it's not until people know someone who's been impacted, and when you get that trace back on that firearm and figure out where it came from. And a lot of times, if someone had been more responsible in their ownership of the firearm, then man, that firearm might not have reached the streets. So the firearm lockbox giveaway is an important thing. And if you're one of those people who are like, oh, they're just giving away, I just want you to give it a second thought, right? Also a reminder here, wow, we get to plug ourselves tonight. It's in here. Hey man, this is a business here at Converge Media. You know what I'm saying? We're not a nonprofit. This is a business. You can support what we do by visiting whereweconverge.com. /donate. You can support our mission over here. If you enjoy black media, you know what I'm saying? And if you enjoy like tonight, where these brothers have come in here, told you about their organizations and what they're doing on the front lines to eradicate gun violence. Not even slow it down. They're on a mission. Right. They're on a mission zero over here. Right. Then, man, support our work here at Converge Media. On that note, man, we're going to call it a night here on the pop-up. We're back again tomorrow night at 9 p.m. as Together We End Gun Violence Week continues. On behalf of my great Live director, Eric Calligraphy, and producer, Mead Gill. I'm out of here. Peace.